Speaking, by the way, of the, I guess the front runner, the Democrat front runner, Pete Buttigieg, he had some thoughts recently. He was on State of the Union on CNN, and he had some thoughts about the Republicans who do not favor federally codifying the redefinition of marriage. Now, there are plenty of Republicans, as we saw in the House, that were on board with it, but the majority still were not. And Pete Buttigieg is very offended and personally hurt by that. And here he is explaining why.
This is really, really important to a lot of people. It's certainly important to me. I started my day, as I try to do on weekends. I try to give Chasten a little bit of a break and do breakfast with both of our twins. That alone, that's no small thing, as every parent of small kids knows. It was one of those days where the tray table wasn't quite fitting into the high chair, and I'm trying to make sure that they're busy enough with their little cereal puffs to give me enough time to chop up the banana and get the formula ready. And it just, I don't know, that half hour my morning had me thinking about how much I depend on and count on my spouse every day. And our marriage deserves to be treated equally. And I don't know why this would be hard for a senator or a congressman. I don't understand how such a majority of House Republicans voted no on our marriage on as recently as Tuesday, hours after I was in a room with a lot of them talking about transportation policy, having what I thought were perfectly normal conversations with many of them on that subject, only for them to go around the corner and say that my marriage doesn't deserve to continue. If they don't want to spend a lot of time on this, they can vote yes and move on. And that would be really reassuring for a lot of families around America, including mine.
A couple of things here. First of all, this guy's such an egomaniac. I mean, they all are, but especially this guy. And it's even more grating with him because there's just no basis for his ego. Like, it has nothing to rest on, no accomplishments to rest on at all. It's like a small town mayor who runs for president, fails spectacularly, and then is given an appointment, a cabinet appointment for no reason other than the fact that he checks a couple of identity boxes. And so that's it. He's the transportation secretary. But he says, oh, they voted on my marriage? No, they weren't voting on your marriage, you egomaniac. That's not what the vote was. There wasn't a bill on the docket. What do you think of Pete Buttigieg's marriage? No, specifically, it's about should the federal government redefine marriage? Should we codify the redefinition of marriage on a federal level? That was the question that they were answering, and some of them said no, as they should have said. And by the way, the people who answer no to that, well, there's a number of reasons why you might answer no specifically to the question of should the federal government codify. But for the people who are critics of the whole, of the redefinition of marriage on any level, they're not saying that your marriage doesn't deserve to continue. What they're saying is that your marriage can't exist because marriage is a particular thing and your relationship does not fall into that category. That's the argument. Now, I realize that's still going to offend you and make you upset, but that is the argument. And it's actually a really important distinction. As I tried to explain last week, and as many people have attempted to explain, this is all a question of definition. And the idea for thousands of years is that marriage, by definition, is an in principle procreative union between a man and a woman. And it serves as the foundation of the family, which serves as the foundation of human society. That was the answer. That was the definition. That's what it was. That's it. And then people like Pete Buttigieg came along and said, well, it's not that anymore. And then the question in response has always been, well, then what is it if it's not that? Pete Buttigieg hasn't answered that question. He says, well, my marriage deserves to be treated equal to other marriages. Well, but equal means the same, Pete. And is it the same? Is your relationship with Chasten, is it the same as, is it in principle, in its substance, in its function, is it the same as my relationship with my wife? And the answer is no, because my relationship with my wife has the potential to create new human beings, and yours doesn't. So that is a difference, right? That's a difference. We can all agree. No question about it. That's a difference. Is it an important difference? Is it a definitional difference? I would say absolutely it is. Of course it is. But even putting all that to the side, he says that, well, how could we talk about, they would sit and talk about transportation policy with me and then go and vote the way they did. Why should, so they can't talk about, you cannot have a productive conversation about transportation policy with someone unless they agree with your definition of marriage? Unless they affirm your relationship as a marriage, you can't talk to them about transportation policy? See, that's your problem. That's your hang up. It's not theirs. I guess for those Republicans, they figured, yeah, okay, well, I might not agree with this, but we can still talk about transportation. Why can't we? You're the one who sets down kind of the ground rules here and says, well, you have to agree with everything about my lifestyle or we can't talk about anything. That's your problem. That's you deciding to do that. Well, I hope you enjoyed that clip from the Matt Walsh Show. If you did, be sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel and click the notification button to get more content like this. If you want to watch or listen to the full show, head to dailywire.com and subscribe today. You can also listen to my podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.